So in this VUCA world, everybody is wondering what is going to happen, when next are we going to feel the normal days. And when I was interacting with Moloy said, "Kya badla hai? Sirf workplace hi to badal gayi. There is nothing which has changed. The only problem is people are not changing. They are not accepting it fast." On that note, I, Supriya Kabra, on behalf of Cosmic Consultants and National HRD Pune, I welcome Moloy and every beautiful participant out there to another nice, good session of staying relevant and thriving and growing in the VUCA world. Moloy is a business coach. He is certified from ActionCoach, and he has a rich, good experience of more than 3 decades. On that note, I welcome Moloy. And Moloy, I request you to please brief about your own journey and then start with the session. Thank you.
Thank you, Supriya. Good evening, all. Audible? Yes?
Yes.
Yeah, fantastic.
Just one more thing. I'm so sorry, Moloy, I'm barging in. Guys, you would be requested to please keep putting your questions in this chat box. You would not be allowed to speak on the mic because we just want to finish all the questions that you have. So please keep putting your questions in the chat box and I would be addressing it at the last. Thank you. Moloy, all over to you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Supriya. Thank you, everyone, for joining in on this webinar on the Thursday, Ram Navami, for a lot of us, unfortunately stuck in our houses. Quick brief about myself, and like Supriya said, we will try and limit this entire conversation to about 45-50 minutes, and then we can have a 10 to 15-minute Q&A, and wherever I can add value. You will also find my coordinates in the presentation that I'm currently showing. So you can please take it down, and at any point in time you want to reach out, please feel free to reach out. Okay, so quick background about myself, like Supriya said. So I have about 25 years experience in corporate world, worked in with multiple MNCs across geographies, headed organizations, and then it was in the year about 2015-16 that I felt it's time to move on. And I started my own coaching and consulting company called as Beyond Red Ocean. So I'm the founder of Beyond Red Ocean Consulting. We started off with executive and life coaching, and then we are a franchise partner for one of the world's largest business coaching company called as ActionCoach. So I coach businesses, MSMEs, and the MSME sector. And as we go forward, I'll tell you the changes that has happened over time. So Pankaj, we will address those questions, and these are very generic questions, so we can address them at offline as well. And let's give the Q&A to the topic for now. I've been also teaching with businesses and business schools for the last 20 odd years, and I teach globally. I go to Bombay, Dubai, Singapore, as well as to some extent in Dubai. My ardent request, everyone, somebody with this Redmi, can please put yourself on mute, please, because there's a lot of background noise. Thank you so much. The world has changed. Like it or not, the world has changed. And I've been having multiple conversations with multiple people, including Supriya, and Mr. Harish Mehta is also part of this group, that probably the world will never be the same again. So in the next 45 odd minutes, I will share my experiences and also how do we as individual, as Beyond Red Ocean Consulting, as well as ActionCoach, how do we look at the new world? I remember it was end February, early March. We were talking to a few clients, And all of us were absolutely gung-ho about how 2020 has started and how 2020 is looking. And we're talking to businesses and we're saying that how can we grow? How can we ramp up our growths? We are conducting seminars on business coaching. We are doing webinars. We are doing life coaching. We are doing executive coaching. And everything sounded so great. But then on 22nd of, or even before that, somewhere in the 2nd to 3rd week of March, Maharashtra generally and other parts of India, we started seeing lockdowns. 22nd of March, we had the Janta curfew, and all of us know about it, so I'm not getting into the details. The Janta curfew. And 25th of March, 24th of March, in fact, we went into a 3-week lockdown. And that day, when we were all watching the television, we looked at ourselves and our businesses. And the first question that came into our mind was, what next? Where are we going from here? We have had these kind of incidences twice in the century already. We had the terror attack in the US, 2001. We had 2008, 2009, the big subprime crisis. But then there was a light at the end of the tunnel, because we knew that those things will end. And probably it's a matter of time. And also, it was not so much of a global impact in 2001, where countries had to lock down and shut down and stop businesses and so on and so forth. Even 2008, 2009, we did not see that kind of lockdown happening in businesses. Yes, businesses slowed down, governments pumped in a lot of cash. But today, it's the world of uncertainty. We do not know where this is going to end. Yesterday, Mr. Donald Trump made a statement that he's looking at probably 2.5 lakh deaths in the US because of coronavirus. Singapore has already started seeing a resurgence of corona. China, another city next to Wuhan, has been put on lockdown. We do not know where it's going. And this is for us what we call the VUCA world. And I'm not getting into VUCA because it's a long discussion and a long conversation that can go around it. But the reason we selected this topic is because it's very relevant. There's so much of volatility that is happening in the world. Every new day brings us new news. Every possible new hour brings us some news. So there's uncertainty. And because we are in this kind of environment where we are so much interdependent on each other as countries and markets, there is complexity associated and there's ambiguity. Everything has fallen on us like a heap of bricks. And in the midst of all this, we have our families to look after, we have our businesses to look after, we have our organizations to look after. And we need to have a different perspective to it. There's so much of negativity that is being consumed globally. Every new WhatsApp message is a negative message. Every new Facebook message is a negative message. And thanks to the media channels, which are really negative, we see only negativity. But I'll take my example, and I see so much of positivity. Like I said, I'm a coach, I'm a business coach, I'm a life coach. And in the month of February, my clients wanted to meet me face to face. So I used to commute to their place, 1.5 to 2 hours. I teach in B school, so people who are aware of Bombay, I used to go to Juhu, I used to go to Lower Thadel, I used to go to Kurla, and today everything is still happening the way it was, but it's happening on this computer screen. Classes have moved into computer screens. Businesses have gone into computer screen. My productivity has increased manifold. So I'm hugely positive, and I'm telling my clients, and as we talk further, I'll share with you what I'm telling my clients. So please feel free to have a pen and a paper with you to take down few of the suggestions that I'm giving to my clients and few of the areas that they're working upon. My productivity has increased. My clients, I'm telling them that your productivity can increase, provided you make that mindset shift. And today it's all about mindset shifts. I can look at a glass of water and say it's half full or half empty, depending on my mindset, depending on the state of mind that I'm in. But just to take you back to sorry about that, about how this COVID-19 is going to play out. If you see the red graph on top of the y-axis, this is how the VUCA, the COVID would have progressed if there was no government intervention. It would have peaked and it would have fallen. Number of deaths would have been very high. Many people would have got affected. So what the government is doing, and I'm sure a lot of you have seen this curve, this is available on multiple websites, including the economic forums, including the World Economic Forum from where I picked it up. What the government is trying to do is trying to flatten this curve, and that's how the blue line progression is. So you bring in lockdowns, you bring in social distancing, you tell people to stay in their houses, you shut down businesses, you do all that, by which the progress could be slightly longer, but the number of people affected by COVID-19 is expected to be much lower, significantly lower than what it ideally would have been. But the downside is that it's going to make the economic crisis worse, because there's lockdown. You can't meet people. You can't go and run your businesses the way it was being done. So the blue line below the x-axis indicates how the economic crisis would worsen because of the health activities that are being put in place by the government, the medical containment as it's called, it's put in place. So this is going to be stretched. Today we are on the 2nd of April. We know our lockdown ends on the 15th of April. But if I go by our understanding, people whom I talk to and a lot of people whom we talk to, I don't think this is going to end before the end of May. So which means that the economic activities in the country and globally would come down. I think it was either the IMF or the World Bank who has made a statement that apart from India and China, all other countries would probably show a negative growth rate in 2020. And even if we grow, which as it is had come down because of multiple factors, we are not expecting to grow more than 2.5% next fiscal. So we should now have two things in hand. One, we know that the extent of the problem is huge. On the other hand, it also gives us time and energy that we can spend on planning on how to look at the new world when it reopens. We are all here. Let's accept the fact. The future looks bleak. We don't know where we are going, but we still have to go. Humanity cannot end. Businesses cannot end. Families cannot end. We have to find that path about how do we go from where we are today to wherever the future takes us. And I tell my clients that, will you be battle ready once the market reopens, once the economy reopens? Will you be battle ready with all your strategies in place, with all your plans in place, that now it's time to run? It's no longer thinking and walking, it's time to run. So we look at two things. I look at this entire aspect from two things. One, I am extremely positive. And whoever I speak to, I tell them that I'm extremely positive. Where do we go from here? We need to have two clear sets of strategies for ourselves. One is what I call the defensive strategy, and which subsequently we'll be talking in terms of how do we reset to zero. And the second is a set of offensive strategies about how do we run and how do we sprint to wherever we want to go. Whoever is there in this room today, whether you're a professional, whether you're an entrepreneur, or whether you're leading a large MNC, we are all faced with making decisions that have to be immediate, but at the same time, extremely thought through. Because we have to keep in mind the health and safety of our employees, our team members, our family. Because the entire business model has changed, we have to learn working from home. And working from home, like many of us who have done it in the last 15 days, would realize that it's not so easy. It requires a huge amount of discipline because there are too many distractions around. It also would mean, how do we keep on engaging with customers? Knowing very well that the customer is not probably ready to buy at this point in time. We have to keep on looking at our cash flows and expenses, and we'll talk in terms of some aspects of cash flow. And more than that, we have to stay positive. We have to take care of our individual mental health. With so much negativity going around, we need to be strong. We need to bring in that fortitude and say, this shall too pass. Either I slump or I'm ready to be there when this passes. That's one set of issues that we have. On the other set, we are, as professionals, as business owners, we are also responsible for the lives of multiple people. As a professional, I lead teams. Many of you lead teams. As a business owner, we employ a lot of people. And it is our responsibility again to lead the way energize, and keep everyone motivated around us. We need to recalibrate the way we work, because the world is not going to be the same again. We have to tell our people around us, whether it's family members, whether it's our employees, whether it's our people who work with us, that the going will be tough. But we are tougher than them. We're tougher than the times. And we will come out successful. We may not come out totally unscathed, but we will come out extremely successful. Our mindsets today need to change. We need to change. Are we ready to do it? If we are ready to do that change, then there are two sets of things that I am going to share with you. And please, again, like I said, please feel free to take notes. The first is, I am talking in terms of, let's reset our life to zero. God has probably, God, nature, whatever we may call, has given us the chance to step back and look at our purpose in life. To step back and ask ourselves, why are we doing what we are doing? While the country is in a lockdown, there's a lot of challenges. We have two options. One, to resist whatever is happening and go in that complaint mode, or we say to ourselves that what is happening outside me today, it's totally uncontrollable. Let's do things that is under my control, and let's look at our lives. So when we talk in terms of zero, and I'm telling this to my clients, and please do this for yourself if you want to, start looking at your life/business with a fresh set of eyes and build a completely new business model if necessary, and a new cost structure to see whether that cost structure that we have currently is going to support the business model that we are looking at. Most of us would be probably in our 40s and 50s. We have led our life for the last 20, 25 years. Let's step back and ask ourselves, what did I want to achieve when I was in my 20s or 25, as a professional or as an entrepreneur? Have I achieved that? We always wanted to have, or we all have our own personal goals. What are those personal goals? When we started working and when we progressed in our careers or in our businesses, we all had a set of personal goals. Do we still have that in place? Do we still have that written down? Are all the actions that we are taking today or in the last couple of years, is in sync with those personal goals? Or have we, in the midst of our day-to-day busy lifestyle, lost focus on our personal goals? It's a good time to revisit those personal goals. Do we need to realign them? Do we need to recalibrate them? Do we need to change them? And how is our new professional life? I believe it's from 1st of June. How is that new professional life going to change or going to help me achieve my personal goals? If there are personal goals that we had set up, and if we have not achieved them, why have we not achieved them? Probably we did not have time to analyze the situation. We did not have time to identify our pain points and our roadblocks in our businesses or in our life. Why have we not achieved them? Let's relook at them. Can we today, like this joke that goes around on WhatsApp, that can we reset 2020 or reformat 2020 because there's a virus in it? Can we rechange, reformat, reboot our lives because a virus has given us the opportunity to do that? Let's also start looking at opportunities around us. What are the opportunities can we leverage? Did we ever believe that, and I love my whiskey, let me confess, and I'm sure there are a lot of people in this room who love their whiskeys or their drinks. I hope so. I'm not assuming. Would we have ever assumed that a company like United Spirits would move their business overnight and start making hand sanitizers? Would we have ever thought of a company like Bajaj Hindustan, which is in the sugar space, change overnight and build in another business line of hand sanitizers? Would we have ever thought that Maruti or a Mahindra and Mahindra would bring in a new set of business line to make ventilators? If they can look at opportunities, why can't we look at opportunities? What is that in me that will help me look at the opportunities going forward? This is something that I use on a regular basis when I do my life coaching, either with business owners or with individuals. This is what we call the wheel of life. And look at this wheel of life. And as on 31st March 2020, on a rating scale of 0 to 10, where are we on each of those parameters? And where is it that we want to make the greatest impact in the next 24 months? Is it on our career? Is it finances? Is it health? Is it family, relationships, social life, attitudes, personal development / personal growth? Where do we want to make change? Whoever, I'm 50, right? And I know medical science, unless it's a big unforeseen eventuality that happens, medical science will keep me alive till 75, 80. How do I productively use the rest 30, 35 years of my life is within my control. Either I can decide that I will be retired at the age of 60, 62, and then spend my time wasting my time, doing nothing productive, nothing constructive in life, and just live a life. Or I can decide today, how will I lead my life for the next 30 years? How will I be productive to myself and to society for the next 30 years? Let's make action plans. Let's identify those areas which will help us, or which we want the most significant impact in the next 18 to 24 months, and create action plans. Not all of us will be in the same situation. A person in his 20s would probably look more at his career and finances. Person at the age of 45, 50, 55, while he will focus on the career and finances, would also look at his health and family. Probably that is, he had to sacrifice a lot as he was building his career. But the one common thing, or two common things, that is true for all of us till the end of our life is my personal growth and my social life. And by social life, I do not mean the pubbing. What am I doing for society? And what am I doing for my personal development? How am I going to use it going forward? How we spend the next 8 weeks of our life will determine our success for the rest of our lives. On one hand, 31st May seems so far. So whether you look at 8 weeks, 10 weeks, whatever you look at, and if you look at today, and if you look at 31st month, it's not even 8 weeks, 7.5 weeks.
Moloy, I'm so sorry I'm interrupting, but then people are asking some questions like if you can come and tell us about the organization levels. That what
I'm coming to that. Can we just complete this and then we'll address the questions?
Some questions that there are.
Yeah, we'll address the questions. Give me 15 minutes. We'll certainly address the questions. Right. The next bit I want to talk about is, one is your defensive strategies, your planning. The next is, how do you take that quantum jump? How do you leap forward once this starts? Because believe me, that every crisis brings with it opportunities. And we'll have to look at how do we tackle those opportunities. So the first thing I ask people, I ask individuals, and I ask business owners, I ask professionals, is to look at your businesses and start working backwards and take corrective actions. 4 areas that I would want you to focus upon, or 4 areas that you can focus upon. First is employees. What's the kind of employees that you have? And if you were to restart your business from ground zero, would you rehire all those employees? Look at your businesses. Look at how are you going to restart your business. Sometimes we need to take those tough calls. Sometimes we need to take those tough decisions. There might be some people within our organization who was not performing. Not that I want him to go, but probably it's time that I have that conversation with him and tell him to ramp up. Otherwise, I would not rehire them. Second, look at your expenses. Look at all the expenses that you're incurring today and compare that with a business model that you would start, and would it require all those kind of expenses? So what is your existing cost structure? Does it fit into the new scheme of things? Look at your assets. If I were to restart that business once again from zero, would I invest in all those assets? Would I invest more? Would I invest less? How would I look at that entire business? Look at your product portfolios. We have probably, many of us have run our businesses for the past 20, 25 years. And we have managed our product portfolios without thinking too much about what changes we need to bring in them. What is the change that you would want to bring in now? Why would customers want to buy from you? Do we as a business owner with a particular product in place, do we have a USP for our products and businesses? Has that been communicated to our clients? Do our salespeople know what is the USP? Is it there on our websites? How do we develop that USP for our product? How do we develop the sales processes, the new sales processes? Your customers will not want to meet your salespeople in the next, say, 2-3 months. How do you connect with your customers? We will all be talking to each other on these kind of platforms. How are you connecting to those customers? How is your salespeople connecting to those customers? Have they been trained to speak on online platforms? How are we upskilling them? How are you training them to communicate in crisp, short sentences? What are all those things that you're doing? Look at your cash flows. And I request you to look at your cash flows from 3 aspects. What is your operating cash flow? We need cash on a day-to-day basis. There's a cash exchange that happens on a day-to-day basis. From where is that money going to come from? If sales are not happening, if purchases are not happening, from where is it going to come? I still have to pay for my salaries. From where is that money going to come? If there are costs, expenses that I have to incur on my operating cash flow, what are the 3 options that I have? Do I dip into my reserves and find the money? Do I go to the banks and ask for additional working capital with a moratorium and lower interest rates? Do I ask my employees to stop taking salaries? But like someone said, if you're not going to stand next to your employees now, your employees are not going to stand with you when the business comes up. Many of us do not have that strong brand associated with us, which also could mean that employees are not queuing up outside our offices or outside our houses or outside our factories wanting to join us. So do you ask them to go? Or do you tell them, I can't pay you for 3 months? What's the word of mouth that will be communicated in the marketplace if your employees go out and tell people that you have not paid them? Or do I go and talk to my senior management and ask them, what is the kind of money that you would want to get right now for survival? Because all of us are in survival mode. And then the money that is and that was due to you, it will be paid to you as deferred payments, not that you have to take a salary cut. We saw that happening with SpiceJet today, where people have been asked to take a 25% salary cut. We have seen how Go Air has let go of a few of their expat pilots. So keep a close watch on your cash flow. Please go out and do a 12-month rolling cash flow. Very few of us have a rolling cash flow in place. We need to thrive in this world. And we need to have clear visibility of our cash flows. Whether it's an individual or whether it's a business, we need to have a cash flow in place. The second cash flow that you need to look at is your financing cash flow. The money that banks owe us and the money that we need to pay back to them for the loans that we have taken. The government has given a 3-month moratorium. But that moratorium comes with a catch. That even for this 3 months, interest is payable on the principal. It's not that it is a blanket moratorium. Not that your entire money loan is getting postponed by 3 months. So look at that bit of your financing cash flow. How much do you want to spend? What kind of extra moratoriums that you would want to have on your debts? Because for the next 3 months, if you don't repay your debts, your credibility with the bankers don't come down. You're not part of an NPA. Look at that. How much can I pay? How much should I pay? And how much should I push back? And the third is your investing cash flow. All that, we have all probably made plans for buying of buildings, houses, factories, plant and machinery, cars, etc. All the capital that you have planned. What's the staggering mechanism that you can bring in? Because these are some things that probably you can stagger. How can you push them ahead? And even if you want to buy them now, what are the payment terms that you can negotiate with the vendors? Because they are also desperate to sell. So how can you push that forward? So please do a 12-month cash flow, because you need to have a clear visibility about where the businesses are going. Along with the 12-month cash flow, break this into 3 individual buckets and look at each one of them independently and see how you can manage. The next bit when you're planning for the quantum jump is to have the systems and people in place. Many of us have a challenge of not being able to articulately communicate negative news. My suggestion is speak the truth. Your crisis communications are important. You have to speak the truth, whether it is to your employees, whether it's to your vendors, whether it is to your customers, whoever it is. Also, one point, please note, like someone told me yesterday, that don't expect your customers not to pay you. Don't have a conversation with a customer telling him that you don't need to pay me right now. Because there could be some businesses, and there are some businesses which are thriving. Be ready for a no for an answer from a customer, but don't put the no in the customer's mouth. Because your stakeholders have to be taken into confidence. And you may give them the bad news today, but they'll never forgive you if you have misled them by not passing on the bad news today. If you can't pay, please go ahead and tell your vendors you can't pay. Sit down with them and create a payment schedule. But don't tell them that we will pay, but don't, and I cannot pay. Second, look at what you can do best. In the best of times, every organization should have a clear vision, mission, purpose. But in these kind of times, we cannot survive with only one purpose. How can we make valuable contributions for others? How can we give, whether it is to the junior most employee in the organization, whether it's helping out with somebody with your employee's child with education expenses, medical expenses, helping the vendors, do everything possible to help people as an organization. Because the more you help people and the more we help people during these times, the greater the chance that it will be with us when we need them the most And that should be 1st June onwards. Stop expecting anything from anybody and become the biggest giver. But let it be true to yourself. Let it not be superficial. Let it not be giving for the simple reason that you would want to take at a future date. But you want to create value. The third, cultivate your community. The peculiarity of this entire crisis, that while we are all alone, we are all more united. I've never seen this in my last 52 years, that we are all alone in our houses, but we are still so well connected with people. The social distancing should not prevent us from building emotional connects. What are we doing for clients currently? How are we helping them? Like somebody was telling me the other day, as a restaurant owner, I know I can't serve food to people. One, my restaurant is closed. And second, the deliveries are shut down. But then can I tell my chef to record, create videos of great recipes and share it with my clients? Can a beauty parlor where my wife or my mother goes on a regular basis create videos on how you can do makeup from home? As trainers, facilitators, can we help people? How do we keep our clients engaged on a regular basis? We are all spending so much time in front of our laptops today, even if it's for industrial products. How are we engaging, informing, enlightening our clients with new technology that is coming up, with new applications that is coming up, of the new products, competing products, whatever products? What are we doing for them? How are we keeping them engaged? Be prepared for change. And I keep on saying, we do not know how the other side of the crisis will be. While I'm extremely positive, and I know 6 months from now, 9 months from now, the world would only be a better place. But I'm yet uncertain. So be ready to change. There is no, while the change should not be a cause for fear, but we should be ready for change. We should be ready to accept anything that the universe throws at us. And finally, practice what is possible. How can we make things happen? Every single morning when we wake up and when you do your, I'm sure every one of us had those hurdles in our organization. When we have these online hurdles, how can we move? How can we move ahead? How can we get started now? What are the new processes that we need to adopt in the new reality? What are the shifts that we need to make in our working style? What are the changes in product portfolios that we need to make, which we discussed? How can we continue to work as effectively and efficiently as possible as organizations? Tomorrow morning, we have our Prime Minister going on a video and telling people, and probably what he has told the Chief Minister is going to tell us, that even after 15th, if the lockdown is taken off, there will be staggered methodology of allowing people to go out. So for the next 3, 4, 5 months, systems would have changed. So what are those things that we need to make in the real world that we need to change? How can we bring in creativity and our problem solving in our working style? This is where I want to leave all of you. On one hand, we can complain about the external environment. On the other hand, we can take the point of power in our hand. And we as action coaches, we use this regularly for our clients, for our businesses, that the world can be full of blaming and excuses and denial, which means it's better to stay in bed and not get up because we will not have achieved anything. But if we as business owners, as professionals, take ownership of our profession or businesses, become more accountable towards it, and we take responsibility that whatever happens is because of me, the point of power shifts from the powerless to the powerful. In this VUCA world, as the post-COVID era, as it's been called today, as the world changes, we need to take control of our businesses and say, I am going to hold the oar of my business by taking ownership, accountability, and responsibility. In times of peace and prosperity, it's easy to forget the human race's chief advantage is resilience. We are extremely resilient lot. Our ability to adapt, to solve problems, and to respond to unexpected challenges has been supreme, has been paramount. Let's not dilute those elements that we have in us. Post-COVID-19, the post-COVID era, as we say, it's not going to be any different. What will help us as business owners, as professionals, as individuals to come out of this is our ability to adapt and to respond to unexpected challenges. And more important than anything else, are we ready for the opportunities that is in front of us? Are we prepared to take advantage of the opportunities in front of us? If we follow these two exercises that we have just shared, one is on self and second is on the profession and the business, I think all of us, or all of us, will be in a much better place to tackle the world post-COVID-19. Thank you very much for your time, and I'm open to questions, whatever I can address right now, depending on the time, or offline. Supriya, over to you.
So, Galaxy S8, you have raised the hand, you may ask. I have saved the questions for others who have dropped into the chat box. So
Sure.
if you can put it in the chat box, I can keep asking. Okay, so I'm taking this first question up. How do we encourage sales in a non-priority sector during such a recession that is post-COVID?
Sorry, your voice was breaking. Can you repeat that, please?
How do we encourage, if you can see it in the chat box also, Moloy.
One moment.
How do we encourage sales in a non-priority sector during a recession that is post-COVID?
How do we encourage sales in a non-priority sector during such a recession that is post-COVID? Now, what is going to be a non-priority sector? How do we define a non-priority sector? Because post-COVID, everything will be priority. Yes, there will be something that is more priority than less than some other businesses. So what is the, please understand, Sandesh, and appreciate this. People buy solutions to their problems. If you're able to communicate a solution to their problem, everything is priority. Yes, there will be probably a flattening of the sales curve, and then it will pick up, but everything will have to be sold. More importantly than what is this, than the sales process is how are you going to communicate to them? How are you going to communicate the value to them? How will you look at the sales piece of your sales people? And how I spend a lot of time on creating that USPs. How are you going to do that? That is more important. If you come with a specific area, which is not priority according to you, we can have a conversation around that. Yes, please.
Sandesh, would you want to add something? No. All right. So let me move to the next question in that case. So how does one function with limited cash or our savings?
Sorry?
How does one function with limited cash or our savings? Why don't you put off your share screen, Moloy? If you don't
I will take off the share screen.
Thank you. Okay, hold on. People want to see your first slide, and there was another question around 9th slide. So,
9th slide, huh?
9th and first slide people want to see.
Okay. First is this.
Kamal, you mean this slide?
Yeah. This and second one.
Yeah,
this one.
Yeah. Let's talk about first slide, please.
Okay. Which slide, please? Slide 1, slide 2.
Yeah, this is okay.
Okay.
Now here you talk about VUCA. That is all you have already nicely explained. Totality, uncertainty, and complexity and ambiguity.
Yes.
In this case, because as the time is on for the past nearly we can say 1.5 months or 1 month.
Yes.
Really. And before that, recession was already on.
Recession was on. Recession was not on. No, I'm sorry. There was a slowdown.
You can say okay. Let me take your words. Okay, slowdown was already there, and particularly
yes.
You talk about any type of companies. Let it be automotive or barring few maybe garment exporters or pharmaceutical companies. Two, three segments. Barring 4 segments. All were in almost slowdown.
Correct.
Now this chapter, Corona. Now, because inputs have been much on the higher side for the past couple of months, including all these 2 in majority. Output has not been there. Even payments are stuck. People are already stuck, struggling for the output. As you talk about liquidity, you talk about other things aspect that we can discuss later. But inputs even, people are not having sufficient funds either in cash or in bank or through the loan also. Then at the same time, how to cope up with the other things where payment is required to be given either to the supplier or to the employees or to the other takers.
Okay.
If something is possible from your side to explore some examples or case study where data are also there, so that people can have a feel of pulse of that and act accordingly up to some extent, if possible.
Yeah, certainly. I think it's a very relevant question in today's world. And because, like you rightly said, there was a slowdown. There was already a supply chain issue because Chinese thing started in December. So people who are dependent on China's supply chain, there was a supply chain issue. There were lots of sales areas that was getting affected and money was getting stuck. And I think it is to address those situations that the government has come out with this moratorium, working capital, and the benefits that as business owners, as individuals, we need to take. We need to really look at, and we can have this conversation offline as well, we really need to look at our cash flows and figure out from where do we get the money. If required, banks, if required, personal savings, if required, cutting of some expenses. Where do we get the money to come in from? Because on the other hand, the government is saying, please go ahead and make the payments to your staff. So all of us will be at some point in time in a cash crunch situation. And that's why I mentioned to you on that slide that please let's look at the 3 buckets of our cash flows. And let's look at each one of them and revisit each line item and see where we can bring down our expenses. We need to sustain this next 2-3 months and probably slightly more till the cash flows are in place. We need to sustain that. We need to figure out. So the first things first is get a cash flow statement in place. Without a cash flow statement, we'll not be in a position.
That's right.
Second,
Can
I just complete?
Please.
The second bit is how do we leverage maximum on all the benefits that the government has given for now. I expect another round to come in. That's my expectation. I may be wrong. Please don't hold my neck for it. Another set of benefits to come, but currently, whatever benefits have come, how can we do that? Like today, for my example, I pushed back 3 of my loans. I know that my cash flow is important, even if I have to pay a certain additional interest for the 3 months moratorium that I'm taking. Let's push it forward because cash in hand is important. Third, how can we go back to our customers and start working with them and have a cash flow for your payments? That there has to be a predictability from their end as well. So how can we work with individual customers? How can we go back to vendors and tell them that this is my cash position, this is how I will pay you over time on the debt that I have with you, on the payables that I have with you. So we need to work on multiple fronts to figure out how do we come out of this. Am I saying it's going to be easy? No, it's not going to be easy. Am I saying it's possible? Yes, it's possible. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. Please, let us not make any mistake that it's not going to be tough. It's going to be tough, but we need to make that effort right now. 1, our 12-month rolling forecast. Second, 3 buckets of our forecast. Third, taking advantage of the government support that the government and the banks can give us. Fourth, go back to the vendors and check with them what is the staggering that they will accept. Fifth, go back to our customers and ask them what is the staggering that they're willing to give us and push them for it maximum. That's how it has to be managed.
Okay, we can talk again on offline.
Yeah, please come.
Meanwhile,
Kamal, right?
Yeah. This is Kamal Sachdeva from Gurgaon. Meanwhile, you can take up others' question as well.
Yeah, please. We can always, please call me at any point in time, Kamal, and we can have a conversation around this.
Sure.
Moloy,
Thank you.
Yes.
There were 2-3 people who wanted you to quickly take us through the slide number 9.
Slide number 9. This?
Guys who wanted slide number 9, please write yes or no in the chat box.
This or 8?
Yes.
Cool. Yes, go ahead.
This?
Yeah, this 9.
Yeah, this is 9. So the point that I'm trying to address out here is where are we going to spend the next 8 weeks of our life? We are all working from home. Do we have a default calendar with us? Do we know between 7 in the morning or 6 in the morning at whatever time we wake up to whatever time we sleep? So for me, it's 7 to 9 in the evening, 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. What is my default calendar? How am I going to spend that 15 hours, right? There are lots of people that I see spending a lot of time on Netflix, Amazon, etc. I ask people, you have 3 hours a day for upskilling yourself. There's so much of audio books. There's so much of things to read. There's so many webinars that are happening all over. Where are you upskilling yourself? What are you reading today? With whom are you talking today? Who are your mentors? Who are those industry leaders that you're talking today? What are you talking to them on? This next 8 weeks, please focus on self. That this is my default calendar. This is what I will do if people who have organizations and team members working from their remote locations, how many times in a day would I go into the huddle meeting? They also need a lot of support. They're also alone in their houses. How do you monitor their activity? So please have a default calendar in place. In your default calendar, have provisions for family, because family is expecting you. Second, have provisions for your self-development. Third, what about your team huddle meetings? Fourth, how much can you give? Do free seminars, free webinars, go and give. Go and talk to your clients online. Audiobooks, reading, it's very critical. That's how your 8 weeks of your life should be. You plan your 8 weeks of your life, you will see the change that is happening. I just take one question, Supriya. Shobhan has mentioned that 3 months moratorium will lead to 1 or 2 months additional EMI. Absolutely right, Shobhan. I mentioned this to you.
Yeah. So,
but let me complete on that. So the choice is mine. Whether I want to preserve cash today, which is part of my principle, or would I want to take that 3 months additional EMI, which could be over a 24 months or a 36 month. I said, I have taken for myself, for my loans, I've taken the additional interest for those 3 months and extended my loans by 3 months because I'm preserving cash. So the banks are also in business. They are not there for charity. So they also need to make money on their interest, on the principal. So they're charging you interest. So choice is ours. No one is forcing. So hence the bankers, all the private bankers have sent messages that do you want to get into the moratorium, or you can stay out. So choice is ours. Can you suggest a methodology to determine a contingency plan to save an organization from running out of cash by end of March 2021? Please, Poojan, if I'm pronouncing your name right, for whoever I have spoken to for many years, I've always asked them that your cash flows or your business model should have 3 models: a pessimistic model, a realistic model, and an optimistic model. Methodology to determine a contingency plan is look at all your expenses and reduce them, push them back, and so that you have cash in hand. There is no sure shot method apart from that to see that whether you have money in hand in bank by 31st March 2021. All of us would want to have money. Look at it from 2 aspects: from where can I save money, and in 6 months from now, from where can I make money? If I need to diversify myself, so be it. What are the 5 different areas from where I can start earning my secondary source of income, my tertiary source of income? What are my passive incomes going to come from? All of us need to have, as individuals, not as businesses, as individuals, have to have 3 sources of income. Without that, we'll always struggle in our lifetime if we have only 1 source of income.
All right. So should I move to the next question?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Please give your advice for manufacturing or engineering industry.
It's a very broad-based question, and I would suggest that we need to look at it offline, because we need to understand what businesses. But this is a very broad-based question. I'm happy to speak to whoever this gentleman lady is offline.
Done. So I hope the concerned person have noted it. We will be sharing his offline number to you so that you can connect. Don't worry, or else you can route it to us.
Supriya, sorry to interrupt. I saw somebody saying that the number is not visible on the slide. So I'm just giving my number and my email ID for people who want to.
Yeah. And in case of Moloy, it was not given in.
Yeah. So these are my email IDs. Can you just, oh, it's gone to
No,
you.
I'm doing it. Don't worry.
Yeah, please do that.
Yeah. So in case of Moloy,